Using MATLAB, we will sometimes want to read from a file data that we wish to plot. We will often know what format that data is in. For example, in this file that is a text file, we see we actually have two columns of data, and the data in each column is separated by a space. And so if we know the format of our data, there are a variety of methods by which we can collect the data or read the data from the file and then plot it in MATLAB. I have created a script file called fplot.m. In this file, there are 4 different methods for reading data from a text file. The first method is by using the textread command, which, although MATLAB does not recommend this command, it still does work in MATLAB and actually turns out to be the easiest method often for reading 2 columns of data from a text file. In this case, we put in the textread command. We also enter the name of the file, which in this case is filename.txt. We also specify that the first column of the data from the file is to go into the x variable. The second column of data is to go into the y variable. This makes it very easy to read text data from a file into 2-column vectors. After having read that information, we can simply use the plot command using x for the x dimensions or x data and y for the y data. In this case, we're also saying that we want this data to be plotted with a blue line. As we are going to demonstrate several other methods of plotting data on the same graph, but by using different methods of reading from a text file, we will hold the plot and keep it in view so that we can plot the additional data on the same graph. The next easiest method is to use the delimited read or dlmread method that is included in MATLAB. We can use this command by using the dlmread command and then parentheses and then inside the text file name, filename2.txt. In front of that command, we set it equal to the matrix C that is going to contain the 2 columns of data. So it will be a matrix that, in this case, since we have 7 rows of data and the column is there are just 2 columns, it will be a 7 by 2 matrix. In order to then get the data out of the C matrix, we can first find the size of the matrix, which we perhaps might not know. And so we could define a variable n2 and say that we want the size of the C matrix in the first dimension, which would be the number of rows. In this case, that value would be 7. Then we can take the values of all of the row values in column 1 from the C matrix and put it into the column vector x2. We can then also take all of the row values between 1 and n2 from the second column of the C matrix and put it into the variable y2. MATLAB allows us to grab all of the rows from the matrix for column 1 by using this notation 1 colon n2, where n2 is the number of rows in that first column. And we did that similarly for variable y2. Having that information, we then can easily plot x2, y2, and then we choose to plot that using the color black, using the K symbol, and D for diamond markers, and a dash to indicate that those diamond markers will be connected by a line. The third method for reading data from a text file is by using textscan. In this case, we need to specify a format specification. Here we define it as the variable format spec3, and it is equal to %f space %f, because we know that each row of the text file has two floating point numbers separated by a space, and we indicate that between two single quotes. We also need to specify the file that we are going to open, and so we create a name for that specification as file ID 3, and it is equal to fopen. We're using the matlab command fopen to open the file name 3.txt, and we use R in quotes to indicate that we are going to read from that file. Next, we say that we are going to scan text from that file in the format that we indicated above. So now it knows which file we want, and it knows how the data is going to look when it looks inside that file. That information is put into the variable D. In order to then find the X and Y data, we can extract the columns from the D matrix. Here, D is a different data type inside MATLAB than maybe you are used to. Hence, we must use these curly braces, and we can simply say that X3 is equal to column 1 of D by using these curly braces. D is in a special format, and so in this case, when using textscan, that will work. We also can use Y3 equal to D with the curly braces and a 2 inside to get the second column. After having done that, we can plot X3, Y3, and we can plot with the color magenta with circle markers and line. And this will be plotted on the graph also with the previous two sets of data. We have a third method for reading text from a file called fscanf. I will not cover that method. However, this file will be included with these videos. Hence, you will be able to look at this method also if you wish. However, it seems to be the most difficult method for reading data from a file. Hence, often the first three methods will be sufficient for your purposes. After plotting all four pieces of data, we can also create a legend. In this case, for the legends, I have put in the file names for each of the legend data sets, and I've also indicated that the legend will be put in the bottom right hand corner of the plot. Hence, when we run this script, we get the following result.